In every corner of the earth, wild animals are talking to each other. And this secret communication is going on right under our noses. Nearly 9 million species, each with their own unique language. But what are they saying? And how are they saying it? By looking closer and listening carefully, scientists are using the latest technology to unlock the secret codes. To solve the mysteries of animal communication, it seems all we have to do is tune in. Even for wild animals, it really is good to talk. Life has existed on this planet for more than 3.5 billion years. And from the smallest insects to the largest creatures ever to exist, life on Earth has never been truly silent. There's always been a need to talk, to share information, to communicate. In this episode, we're looking at the latest science to see how animals use their bodies to talk to each other. Whether it's to say hello, warn off a rival, or just to flirt, these animals just love to chat by getting physical. Dancing. Lots of animals seem to like to get down and boogie. But are they really practicing their latest moves? Or is it an ingenious way of communicating? Creatures like the Victoria riflebird steal our hearts, and hopefully, potential mates with their moves. But one of the most communicative movements of all comes from a creature that jives for an entirely different reason. And now the latest AI tech is being used to help us decode this unique dance. There are more than 20,000 species of bees in the world, but only 8 of them are honeybees. And these bees are special because they are one of the planet's great pollinators. As they visit plants seeking food, pollen catches on their bodies and is passed on to other plants, fertilizing them. So when bees thrive, so do crops that we depend on. They don't mean to help feed us, but they do, as it's been said that 1/3 of the human diet depends on them. And understanding what bees are saying to each other is critical to keeping their numbers healthy. Dr. Christoph Gruder has spent around 20 years studying bees and has several hives he monitors. Bees live in super organized colonies of up to 60,000, all performing specific roles, working together for the good of the hive.
Bees have to communicate with each other constantly so that they know what is currently needed, so what kind of jobs need to be performed. And in addition, the environment changes, so there are suddenly new food sources. So to make sure that bees know what they need to do, they need to communicate with each other.
The forager bee's job is to find a food source, and she will fly long distances in her search. When successful, she'll fly home and relay back the information. And she does it by getting down and shaking her abdomen.
The most famous one is the waggle dance. So this is a dance-like behavior that bees perform on the wax comb, and using that they can tell their nestmates where they found food.
The funky movements of the waggle dance are actually giving the other bees very precise instructions. And Christoph is able to interpret what they're saying.
It's the direction of this waggle run towards me that tells the other bees the direction of the food source in relation to the position of the sun. So if the bee is dancing up, it means the food source is in the direction of the sun. If the bee were to dance down, it would mean that the food source is in the opposite direction of the sun. And the duration of the waggle phase indicates the distance to the food source. So 1 second of waggling is about 750 meters. So she's waggling about 2 seconds. That means that she has found a good food source about 1.5 kilometers away in that direction. She's still going on, so she seems to be very happy with that food source.
Analyzing the waggle dance is a vital part of bee conservation.
One way how we can use the waggle dance today is trying to better understand what bees need, what kind of food sources they need, because by dancing they tell us what they like, and so we can find out what we maybe should plant in order to help colonies.
The waggle dance is not the only important physical gesture the bees perform.
Here you see another dance, and this is now the so-called round dance. Round dances are performed by bees if the food source is very close. And they're just running around in circles, motivating other bees to look for that food source. And this is a behavior that's unique to honeybees, so there are no other bees or insects that perform a dance-like behavior to tell other bees where they found food sources.
In order to monitor and analyze the bees, Christoph and his team have been tagging them. Then back at the lab, they can look at the bee inside the hive and see how it's actually moving.
So here we can now see the bee that we have marked before, number 33 yellow, and we see that she's performing a waggle dance. So she's waggling to the right, circling back, waggling to the right, circling back. And you see these other bees that are very excited about this. And from this waggle phase, we can now tell where this bee has been foraging. So in this case, the waggle phase was 0.6 seconds.
By timing the duration and measuring the different angles of the waggle dance, Christoph can work out exactly where the food source is. And now advances in artificial intelligence have vastly improved the ability to calculate this data.
Here we can see a software that uses machine learning to automatically recognize when a dance is happening on a video. And that means that we no longer ourselves have to kind of draw these lines and measure how long it takes. And we get huge amounts of data without us having to do the manual decoding.
Christoph's studies on bees, and especially their samba skills, have convinced him these insects really are the most amazing creatures.
For a long time, researchers considered insects to be almost reflex machines, very simple input and very simple output. And what the waggle dance communication showed was that a bee is able to perform very sophisticated communication and is by many considered one of the most sophisticated forms of communication in a non-primate animal.
The waggle dance shows how the bees use their bodies to work together as a collective. And using physical gestures to communicate in a group is effective because it gives instant feedback. Starlings form together in huge flocks, probably in order to confuse predators like falcons that are distracted by the swirling mass. These fish synchronize their movements perfectly by making split-second decisions triggered by a reaction to their neighbor. It enables them to reduce the chances of being eaten by the sea lions lurking around. It's called safety in numbers. And there's another creature that has a visual display it performs as a unique defense strategy. A vast plain in North America. and a colony of prairie dogs are busy hanging out with their neighbors. These creatures aren't actually dogs at all, but in fact, cute-looking rodents that belong to the squirrel family. They live in family groups of around 20 members, called coteries. They usually contain an adult male, 2 or 3 adult females, and their young. They are highly social creatures that live in complex underground burrows that, like our own houses, even have designated areas for nurseries, bedrooms, and toilets. Living in a wide open space means danger is everywhere, and you need to be on constant guard. Effective communication is vital for their survival, helping them warn the colony about predators and other dangers.
Good communication underpins every aspect of prairie dog life. It's the underpinning for all that they do, all their social interactions, both within their families and more widely.
These rodents are right little chatterboxes, but they also have an incredibly developed range of physical expressions that are just as effective as actually talking to each other. These cute little creatures have a charming way of saying hello by kissing. Prairie dogs are famous for their constant smooching, which they do by putting their noses together. They do it to identify each other by scent, and in order to help with social bonding. Although sometimes fights can break out. But it's performing the Mexican wave that the prairie dogs are most famous for. The movement itself is called a jump yip. One animal stands on its hind legs, stretches its arms out, throws back its head, and yips.
And what's incredible about this is as soon as one does that, you get this wave of these jump yips passing through nearby colony members.
And now scientists believe they have finally solved the mystery of why these small burrowing rodents put on such a unique-looking show. Prairie dogs are under constant threat from predators like hawks and coyotes. So it's believed these displays test how good their neighbors are at looking out for any danger. This checking up on each other catches on, resulting in a ripple of jump yip movements. It's a way of making sure that every member of the community is on guard and ready to respond if they need to.
The Mexican wave emerges because if I do a jump yip and my near neighbours jump yip in response, their nearest neighbours then also respond, and so you get this wave effect passing through the colony, just like you do in a football stadium when someone starts a Mexican wave.
Prairie dogs have evolved to use physical gestures like the Mexican wave to warn each other about danger and flee if they need to. But other animals aren't under such constant threat. Instead, they're happy to be seen by others. Birds of paradise living in tropical forests have few natural predators and openly display their extraordinary plumage for all to see. And there's another very boastful bird that can't get enough of the limelight. One of the most stunning sights in nature, a male peacock showing off his feathers. His large display is actually a set of shorter tail feathers and a vibrant long trail known as the bird's train. This train can weigh around half a kilo and makes up around half of the peacock's full body length and contains around 200 feathers. But amazingly, that doesn't stop the bird's ability to take off and even fly short distances. Peacocks love to exploit their good looks to talk to females when it's time to breed. And his courtship dance is one of the greatest visual extravaganzas in the animal world. The male unfurls his feathers, turning them into a miraculous, fan-like explosion of color. And scientists believe the bright colors of the plumage are critical for the success of his dance.
The peacocks have these incredible courtship displays to show to the females that they are fit enough, they are well fed enough, and they're genetically suitable for the females to mate with, and so she knows that she'll also be producing incredibly healthy offspring.
As the proud bird moves around, its tail colors appear to change. He does this by refracting colors or wavelengths of light at different angles. This creates a shimmering, iridescent effect. But the jewel in the crown of the peacock's dance is the eye spot. Some scientists believe it is this special feature that is attracting the females the most. They've discovered that the eye spot color accounts for almost half of the peacock's mating success. And it's the brilliance of the color that is sealing the deal. It appears peahens are only really interested in the eye spots when choosing who to pair up with, and especially the blue-green colors in them. In fact, some people have actually suggested that these beautiful eyes hypnotize the females with the way they look and move.
When you watch a peacock display dance, the whole tail moves and it's rattling. But if you look more closely, you can see that the eye spots stay in one place. And it appears that there are these micro hooks linking up the different sections of the wing, specifically around the eye spots, so that they stay in one place whilst the rest of the tail moves about. And it produces this really mesmerizing effect when you look at it as a whole.
But could this hypnotic eye, with its fixed stare, really be leaving the peahen powerless to resist the male's attentions?
It is very possible that the male is using some kind of sneaky technique to try and not trick the female, but make her think long enough that he is able to mate with her. And this occurs quite commonly in nature, where sneaky behaviors happen to make sure that two individuals mate. So it's plausible.
This expert seducer really does have an eye for the ladies. Using a hypnotic eye to seduce females is a cunning but effective way to get what you want. But some methods of talking are far less subtle. Breaching is a spectacular ocean display where marine animals such as these rays and dolphins soar out of the water. And now scientists are beginning to understand the reasons behind this extraordinary behavior. It might be that some of these animals are actually trying to talk to each other. The Pacific Ocean, and all is calm until a huge humpback whale decides to disturb the peace. He really knows how to make a splash.
The breaching of humpbacks is a truly unique event. You're talking about something bigger than a London bus launching itself out of the water before dropping the elbow and crashing back down. It is an incredible, incredible event.
In terms of the amount of energy used, it's possibly the single most expensive body maneuver in nature. The whales do it by using their powerful tail and fins to launch themselves out of the sea. And while other whale species do breach, humpback whales seem to do it more frequently. The record for the amount of breaching is believed to be held by a humpback in the Caribbean that did 130 breaches in just 75 minutes. Scientists aren't completely sure why whales do it, but there are a number of ideas. One theory is that they are simply trying to shake parasites off their skin through the huge impact of hitting the water. But a more complex theory is that breaching allows them to communicate with each other. Is it possible that the sound made by breaching may be a signal to other whales? When a whale crashes into the sea, the impact is so huge that it can create powerful shock waves underwater. The sheer force and sound of a 40,000 kilo whale smashing down can be heard long distances away. Some researchers think other whales can pick up these vibrations through their sensitive bodies. It's like a giant explosion that can travel a great distance, telling other whales they are in the neighborhood. Or it could be that they're doing it simply to be seen by other whales.
There's no point making a huge, loud noise proclaiming yourself to be the big daddy if no one knows exactly which whale did it. So this tends to happen when the whales are in quite tight congregations, certainly within a visual range of each other.
This means it could be they're sending a very eye-catching visual message to other whales nearby. And experts also think they know why they're doing it.
Humpback whales will tend to breach when they are looking to pair off and get ready for mating. So the males use it as a sign of fitness, a sign of dominance, not only to other males, but also to give the females an idea that they are a proper big boy.
However, there is another theory as to why these whales do these daredevil stunts in the water. Maybe they're doing it just because it's massive fun. Humpbacks aren't the only animals that use jumping up in the air to communicate. Black-buck antelopes can leap up to 2 meters in a display called pronking. Scientists think they might be doing it to show off their fitness to predators. Hey, look at how high I can jump. Don't waste your time trying to catch me. And there's another impressive athlete who likes to do his jumping in mud. The tide has gone out in a mangrove swamp in Malaysia, and an extraordinary creature is getting very mucky indeed. This strange-looking fish is called a mud skipper. It's actually amphibious, meaning it can survive in both water and on land. They have eyes on the top of their heads for better aerial vision. And unlike other fish, they can even breathe through their skin. They move by using their pectoral fins like tiny arms, propelling them forward one step at a time. And as their name suggests, they love to skip into the air. By bending their tails rapidly, they're able to use it as a lever and launch themselves upwards.
The display of jumping mud skippers is entirely unique in the animal kingdom. You're talking about a fish jumping on land while it's out of water to indicate to other fish that it's a really strong fish.
And this skipping is a way of letting everyone know they are available and looking for romance.
So it can be very, very difficult for an individual male to show that they are the best and the strongest and worthy of mating with. So the height that they can jump sets them apart from all the other males. It shows that they're the strongest and the fittest on the beach.
Amazingly, this fish can fly twice its body length above the mud. All in the name of love. And he's not the only one talking dirty in the mangrove swamp. There are over 100 known species of fiddler crab, and they get their name because males, as well as having a normal smaller claw, have developed a huge one as well. The crab is called fiddler because the movement of his smaller claw during feeding looks as if he's playing the larger one like a violin. The massive claw is one of the strangest sights in the animal kingdom and can weigh up to half a male's body weight. And one thing this crab loves doing is showing it off.
When you get a beach full of fiddler crabs, all gesturing, all signaling with that claw, it looks like the beach is alive. It's physically rippling with life.
But this bizarre display does have a purpose. It's the key to a unique visual language. Male fiddler crabs use their claws to defend their territory and protect their burrows. To warn off others, these crabs wave their claws to tell intruders to stay away, or else. The mudflats can be turned into a very messy battle, where the winner lays claim to the precious den. But the crab's claw can also have a more romantic function. Males use them in courtship dances to attract females. They perform a claw wave. It's a bit like a friendly handshake, where they raise and lower their pincers in a specific pattern. The waving not only gets her attention, but also shows off his claw's size and coloration. It's a display of strength and fitness. Hey, look at me, I've got a massive claw. The female then begins to roam and saunters past the male crabs. A sort of crab speed dating then takes place. But females can be picky and take their time choosing which oversized claw entices them the most.
The bigger the claw, the bigger the crab, the better the chance of the offspring of being big, bad crabs themselves. It's very, very straightforward.
Claw waving is certainly an unusual visual method of talking, but it lacks the level of sophistication and variety more often found in social animals. Meerkats, for example, have a repertoire of body language to communicate within their groups. The most iconic being when they stand guard and scan for predators. And there's another very social animal that has developed an incredibly sophisticated range of facial expressions, which they use to talk to each other. Experts think the first wild horses were roaming plains across the world around 4 million years ago. And even though most horses now are domesticated, they still show traits from their wild ancestors. Domestic horses may not roam in large groups, but they still share sophisticated social interactions with other horses. Horses have a surprisingly developed communication system using facial expressions. It's thought horses have at least 17 different facial muscle movements, compared to humans, who have around 27. Karen McComb is a professor of animal behavior and cognition and studies how mammals communicate with each other.
So horse facial expressions are really interesting. I mean, once you've been around horses, it's almost second nature to know what they're thinking and feeling about things, because if they're feeling negative, they put the ears back. You'll also see the wing of the nostril lifts up. We call it a nostril lift. And that's very different from if a horse is glad to see you or glad to see another horse. The ears come forward, you know, attentive in a sort of a positive anticipation.
Karen is doing an experiment looking at how horses can read emotions in other horses just by looking at faces. She's put a picture of an angry, tense horse next to a relaxed, happy one to see which one Curly prefers.
What we're doing here is trying to see what choice they make when they can either stand beside the face of an aggressive horse or a horse that's looking positive.
Curly goes up to the photos and makes his choice.
Just immediately, he made a choice to go towards the positive and to touch that photo, to nose touch and examine it with his mouth. Given a very basic choice here, but we've given it in photos, which is a different medium for the horse to deal with. And in fact, Curly here made a very good decision.
Dr. Leanne Proops is an associate professor in animal behavior and welfare and has worked with Karen. She's collating a database of horses' facial expressions.
So what we've been looking at now then is exactly what facial expressions they're performing under a range of different contexts. So in play faces, for example, so here we have a really nice example of two horses that are playing together, and you can see here that we have this, the upper lip is being raised, so you see the mouth is often open. Other contexts that we've been looking at are a sort of interested, alert face, which was our positive face in the study that we showed earlier. And here the signals are really very much in the ears, so having the ears forward, the mouth is quite relaxed, the eyes are quite relaxed here, so there's not much sort of activation of the muscles going on.
These experiments have proven that horses are incredibly skilled at reading each other's facial expressions. But the team are also interested in whether they can read human expressions too.
Really, we're trying to chart out, if you like, the emotional world of horses. We want to know what they can understand, not just about other horses, but also about the humans that are working around them all the time, and about the human face when it shows emotion.
Karen does another experiment where photos of a man with an angry and a happy expression are shown to the horse to see his reaction. First, the angry face. The horse seems to recoil and avoid the photo. Then, the happy photo. The horse seems to approach and nuzzle the friendly face. Karen is convinced that we are only just starting to understand how advanced horses are when it comes to them understanding human behavior.
Horses are eavesdropping on the human world all the time. They are much more positive about a human smiling face than a human angry face.
And Karen wants us to be more aware of how sensitive horses actually are.
I hope people will be much more aware of the everyday emotions that they show around horses.
Horses have an incredible array of physical expressions they use to talk to each other. But some people think there's one thing they're not good at: singling out colors. With many animals, the use of color serves as a powerful language, allowing creatures to convey vital information without vocalizing. Such as the coral snake, telling predators he's poisonous and to stay away. And another animal has also chosen the color red to do its talking. High up in the Simien Highlands in Ethiopia, and its most famous residents are relaxing in the lush grass that grows on the side of the mountain. Gelada baboons. These beautiful, hairy creatures aren't actually baboons at all. Instead, they're a type of monkey. They are in fact the last surviving species of a once widespread group of grass-grazing primates. They live in large groups of as many as 1,200 members. The gelada family unit, called a harem, usually consists of one male, 3 to 6 related females, and their young. They vocalize with grunts and calls whilst picking the lush grass to eat. But much of their communication is visual.
Geladas are using various forms of communication. They have some vocalizations, some scent marking, but also some visual signals, which they use for different functions.
Geladas use their faces to convey a wide range of emotions. A raised eyebrow might signal aggression. When they open their mouths wide, it's a sign of submission, or it's time to play. Dominant males maintain their status by showing off their large manes and scary facial expressions, telling everyone who's boss. One very hostile-looking display is what's called the lip flip. This is where they turn their upper lips inside out on their nostrils to demonstrate their gums and teeth. It's an ability that's unique amongst primates, although it might actually be a friendly gesture. However, geladas are known for fierce battles that can erupt amongst themselves. Grooming is another way geladas communicate. By picking away at each other, they reinforce social bonds and show trust and affection. But perhaps the most famous visual display of any primate is the bright red patch of skin on the gelada's chest. This is why they are often referred to as bleeding heart baboons. Both sexes can have these red patches on them. For a female, her patch is a sexual cue that she is receptive to mating. And males have a fetching heart-shaped patch on their chests too.
The red chest in males can communicate status. So more dominant individuals have brighter red chests than more subordinate individuals. It's an honest indicator of the quality of that male.
It's a way to show everyone he is more successful with females than others. And scientists have a theory as to why geladas might have evolved this striking red chest.
One possibility for why there's this striking big signal is that these geladas face relatively few predatory threats. So such a big striking colour makes you stand out and makes you very vulnerable if you've got lots of predatory problems. But because they've got relatively few compared to other species, they can afford this dramatic signal.
These primates literally wear their hearts on their chests. Geladas have chosen one color, red, to communicate with. But other animals have decided to use a bit more of the spectrum. Different chameleon species are able to vary their coloration and pattern through combinations of blue, red, orange, green, yellow, and many other colors. They do it for camouflage reasons, but also as a way to attract mates or to defend their territory from invaders. And there's a marine animal that has a variety of different colors it displays in a complex visual language. ocean floor, and one of the world's most extraordinary creatures is smoothly gliding through the water. There are more than 120 species of cuttlefish that can be seen in seas all over the world. Along with octopuses and squid, cuttlefish are known as cephalopods and have existed for more than 500 million years. That's before the first shark or fish ever evolved. These incredible creatures have numerous sneaky tactics to evade predators, including a spectacular vanishing act using a cloud of ink. But their best magic trick is even more clever than that. Cuttlefish are sometimes referred to as the chameleons of the sea because of their ability to rapidly alter their skin color. This can occur within a mere blink of an eye. This ability to instantly transform the color and texture of their bodies is truly remarkable. But how do they do this amazing transformation? Scientists believe it's done by changing the expandable pixels, numbered in millions, located in their skin. These specialized skin cells are called chromatophores.
The secret to cuttlefish colour change and why it's so quick is because the individual colour cells are operated by muscles and they're operated by nerves, and that's all run by a very sophisticated nervous system. So they can think colour changes just like we can move our hands or muscles in that way, and it's instantaneous.
But why do they change color? We know they use camouflage when hunting or to avoid predators, but we're just discovering that it's also to talk to other cuttlefish. New research actually suggests they use their magical skin as a sort of secret language only they can understand. They use it to tell their present emotions and potential future plans to fellow cuttlefish.
Cuttlefish have really sophisticated communication via rapid colour changes and patterns all over their body, and including their arms. And by flashing up different patterns and colours, they're communicating in terms of courtship and also rivalry and also warning.
For example, when two males cross paths, they adopt darker hues to signal aggression and stay light if they want to back out of a fight. Although sometimes things kick off in spectacular fashion. Understanding the incredible complexity of cuttlefish and their communication is a new development, as up until recently, not much has been known about them. And off the waters of the southern coast of England is another unsung hero of the sea. One man has devoted his life to studying these creatures and finding out how they communicate with each other. In a bay in the south of England are some small creatures with big attitudes. Paul Naylor is a marine biologist with a passion. He spent his life studying one of the most fascinating fish in the sea, tom-pot blennies. These charming little fish have distinctive, frilly tentacles on top of their heads and live in crevices and rocky reefs. They have expressive faces and almost look like they're smiling as they dive in and out of rocks at the bottom of the sea. Paul has discovered that family life is quite complex and often full of conflict. Males and females each mate with several partners, and this can cause a variety of squabbles. Males also argue over housing, with competition over a desirable crevice intense. To Paul, the drama in the life of a blenny is akin to a soap opera. He spends hours filming them so he can take his footage home and study their behavior.
Now we can recognise individuals, we can understand more, we can really, by analysing the film and the footage and the stills as well, try and get an insight into their lives.
Paul knows the local blennies so well, he's given them all names.
Once we could identify individuals, we built up a rogues gallery of different blennies, all individually recognisable, the males and the females, and they have numbers for the sort of scientific literature, but also names.
And just like in a drama, there's always one fish that wants to be the boss of the reef.
So this is Brett. He's a particularly stroppy individual, and the message that he's sending is, I'm tough. You really should get out of my territory. You can see how close he is to the camera. He's swum right up almost to the glass, and he actually starts biting at the seaweed on the seabed here. So he takes a big bite, and he's not eating the seaweed. He's just going to chew it up and spit it out as a display of prowess. And he's basically saying, I'm tough, get out of my territory. And it's, I think, quite remarkable for a fish about this size and me this size that he's trying to, you know, send that message.
And now Paul has worked out all the different ways they talk to each other.
As far as we know, all the communication between these blennies is visual, either by colour, posture and movement. Here, for example, you see what happens when a female is visiting a male. This is the visiting female. This is a male in his home crevice, and he dashes out to do what we think is a courtship dance, these big looping swims around his home, and he's basically saying, I'm hot to trot, come and lay your eggs with me, to the female. And here in a minute you'll see the way she appears just at the corner of the crevice to keep an eye on what he's doing, and we think this is his way of communicating this welcome message to the female. Now, this is the sort of more mysterious part of communication between blennies, which seems to be demonstrations of submission, which all seem about a pecking order on the reef, with each one displaying dominance to sort of one below them in the pecking order and submission to one above. And they seem to display submission by, when they're approached, tipping over at quite an extreme angle, sideways, as though showing their belly. And talking to other scientists, this seems to be quite a universal demonstration of submission, this side on.
Paul wants to tell the world what amazing fish blennies are and how complex their communication is.
By showing all the different communication methods between the blennies, I think we're showing how complex their society is and how intricate it is. It's showing how life on the reef is complex, and it just helps show what a precious environment it is and how important it is to look after it.
Like a lot of animals, these blennies spend much of their time trying to win over the opposite sex. Courtship displays are often the most spectacular forms of visual communication in animals. But in Australia, there's a display that's different. The stakes are high, because if she's not interested, then he might be seriously injured. The peacock spider is one of the smallest spiders in the world, the size of a grain of rice. But it's still an impressive athlete and can jump multiple times its body size. It also has 8 eyes that convey information about movement in light and dark. The peacock spider may be small, but it is also very beautiful. It has a dazzling mixture of vibrant red, orange, white, cream, and blue coloration on its body. The colors are made up from microscopic scales all over him. When it comes to finding a mate, he performs a display that is an amazing spectacle designed to captivate the females. The male peacock spider raises his abdomen, proudly displaying an array of vibrant colors. He moves his legs gracefully, resembling an elegant ballet dancer. He performs a complex choreography of leg lifts and twirls. He really is the greatest tiny dancer. But this is a courtship display with a difference. The male peacock spider is dancing in front of a dangerous spectator. It's only if the female approves of the dance he is allowed to mate. If not, he might be attacked. Not being hurt depends on the quality of his dance. And he puts everything into it. Legs flying and colors shimmering. He also has a persistent, mesmerizing rhythm. The female observes the dance with keen eyes, assessing his performance, scrutinizing every move. His dance isn't just about beauty. She's judging his strength, agility, and genetic suitability. Exhausted, after 50 minutes of serious jiving, the spider has reached the end of his dance, and it's decision time. Will she be impressed? Or is he in big trouble? The female, fully enchanted, moves closer until they meet, completing the ritual. It seems his dance was a 10 out of 10, and he takes home the ultimate prize. The amazingly intricate dance of the peacock spider is just one of a myriad of remarkable physical movements animals use to talk to each other. From dancing bees and hypnotic eyes to crashing whales and jumping dogs, they all reveal the importance of understanding the diverse ways in which creatures can express themselves.